But they would have killed me if it wasn't for Davos.
They didn't, did they? So what you whinging about?
I'm not whinging.
Your lips are moving and you're complaining about something. That's whinging. This one's been killed 6 times. You don't hear him bitching about it.
Okay, Gutian, you reap what you sow. You want to make fun of Southpaw for trying to respond to you, but having their stream get bogged down by technical issues when they were trying to take you down, saying, oh no, they were trying to respond to me because they're all MauLer's whiny fanboys and they couldn't even do anything because they were so obsessed with Longman jacking them off. Oh boy, you done fucked yourself royally now, buddy. Because guess what? I'm not doing this in a live stream. I'm doing this in a proper fucking response video. Since you just want to act like a fucking jackass to everyone around you, just like, you know, everybody else that likes to criticize MauLer, who doesn't know how to freaking criticize anybody in a freaking respectful and fair way, you won't be getting that benefit of the doubt here, buddy. No, you will not. So, this dude released an 18-minute video. The dude or gal or whoever the fuck, I'm not even gonna bother trying, because Eric Taxxon's already got me confused as all hell on that account. Well, Patricia, sorry. But yeah, this dude decides to make a response by saying MauLer's a bad critic. And, you know, we've had this type of thing before with the other fellow called Jack Saint, who also put himself in on this discussion by not even bothering to watch any of the stuff in the live stream that was done by Southpaw until the 40-minute mark. Oh wait, Jack Saint, I still have a video series I'm making about you to finish. Tighten that butthole, boy. I'll be back to rape that later. But anyway, yes, you guys want to be dicks to MauLer, you want to be dicks to EFAP, you want to be dicks to, you know, everybody on that whole spectrum. Well, you got the ire of the fan base. You have a live stream dedicated about it. Now let's see if I can make something over an hour long that isn't fucking incoherent rambling. So, Gutian, if you're Gutian, or whatever the fuck your name is, if you're watching this, prepare the lube.
Hello, guys, gals, and M-pals, and welcome to the definitively true side of YouTube.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Sounds like he's doing something that the meme repository did in one of his memes for Godzilla. You know, the fine, I'll do it myself. So it's either he's just doing this because it's like, nah, fine, nobody else wants to make a good response to MauLer, I'll do it myself type of deal. It's like, well, you kind of missed the mark on that. Plenty of people bitch about MauLer all the time. Freaking, you know, the whole Twitter controversy about Jenny Nichols to start. Not only that, Jack Saint, same guy who you tagged with Eric Taxxon, Patricia Taxxon, whatever the fuck, you know, saying, oh no, MauLer and EFAP's coming after me because I made a response video to them, even though you, from what I've been hearing, I've been an absolute prick about. We'll see what happens though. We'll see what happens though. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt to start off, but then again, judging by your activity on Twitter over the past week, it's not giving me a very good sign.
In today's video, we're going to be kind of doing a response to MauLer. If you have no idea who that person is, then nice, good for you, but let's ruin that. They are a movie/TV show analyst or critic who makes some of the longest videos on the internet that seem almost designed to suck all the fun out of understanding or enjoying pop culture. Some of
46 seconds in and I'm already laughing my ass off. Sucking all the fun out of film criticism? What, it's not like he's fucking Clockwork Orange styling you right now by making you watch his reviews. Alright, what? What the fuck? I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing. This is so stupid. What? I have plenty of fun watching his shit. His rages are freaking hilarious. You know, the thing where he's the least objective, but is still objective to a pretty consistent point, at least, in the rages. And he's funny as hell in those. And then in his critiques, he goes into pretty damn good detail. His TLJ video, so many good clips that I could show right now for like illustrating points about the character of Luke Skywalker, the consistency of the world, why everything feels so small. Like, what do you mean by sucking all the... Are you going to explain how he's sucking the life out of film criticism? Are you going to explain that? Something tells me you aren't.
Of these longest videos are on their second channel, the Every Frame a Pause channel, which revolves around pausing once every frame, as the name would suggest, to talk about a bunch of stuff as a way of responding to somebody else's content. This nightmarish plan does mean that those responses end up being about 11 to 12 hours long, which is...
Yeah, but that's with multiple people doing it. That's not... Alright, that's for response videos, yes, sure. But the whole point of Every Frame a Pause was responding to, you know, bad takes that are coming out about things. And it's not all about, you know, Star Wars, because I know you're probably gonna gripe about that. But he is showing the Jenny Nichols one, but... What's the problem with that? Like, Drunken Peasants did some pretty long live streams. People do pretty long live streams to this day, granted for different reasons, but what's the problem with that? What's the problem? And besides, half that length, if you just cut out half the length of the daggum live stream, they're just responding to the video, and then you have super chats, and then you have fan art and memes that they go through. So the whole... Oh, it's 11 hours long, why are... They're so bloated, why are they even doing this? It's such a stupid argument, because they do it in actually pretty efficient time. It doesn't take that long to just listen to them criticize something, unless the critique is so brig-brain like Jack Saint and Patricia Taxxon did. Ha, got it right that time. So, what's your point?
Just too much time spent on going over someone else's work, missing the whole part of criticism that revolves around a clear and concise point being made as a way of relaying information to somebody. Regardless, all of this is not what we're going to be talking about today, nor are we in fact going to be responding to a specific MauLer video.
Not really. Okay, their whole point of the way that EFAP does criticism, the whole point of Every Frame a Pause is so that way they're going through every single point in chronological order and pausing it on certain points so they can discuss what is right or wrong with them. Okay? So that way they're not... It's a good shield, because there are people who often have their videos responded to, like, you know, Wolf's video that Patricia responded to about forced diversity, to where Patricia, you know, basically only showed like 2 minutes of his video, and then whined about how Wolf was stupid and was a right-wing fascist or something like that, and was complaining that he didn't know anything about film criticism or film at all. Okay, the whole reason they do that is so that way they're going through every point, they're being concise, and that way they're not... Everything's out in the open, so that way they're not hiding anything. They're not going to hide anything. That's the whole point of how they review. And that's the whole thing that MauLer does too in his reviews. He goes through the beginning and the end. Why do you think he did a 10-hour series on H-Bomber Guy? Because he went to the beginning and the end so that we could find everything that he needed for it. That's not... What is the problem? What is the problem? That the fact that they intersplice it with memes, or, you know, they laugh at something? That happens all the time because they're freaking interacting with their community. What's the fucking problem with that? That's such a dickish response. Sounds like the same thing Jack Saint did at the beginning of his thing. And in fact, I have the clip right here. I'll show it to you.
Hours of his Star Wars review here, just as we will not be showing all 9 hours of his Dark Souls 2 critique, nor the entirety of his many hour-plus long one-off criticisms.
But yeah, like, that's what Jack did. He was like, we're not going to respond to a specific video, we're not going to go over this entire video series and all that type of stuff. I mean, I know, I'm just confused as to why he did it. Because, I mean, of course, if you're going to criticize MauLer, at least just find clips from something. I don't expect you to go on 20 hours response, because then you'll be contradicting your point. But, I mean, why are you saying this in a way that makes me think of Jack Saint? Because it makes me think that you're copying it. And yeah, I mean, it's not like a super egregious thing. It's just a nitpick, basically. Just find something better to say. Should have written it in a better.
It all revolves around this concept that MauLer has repeated, that what they engage in is the objective view or critique of a piece of work, based on a group consensus of some kind around it.
Way. Okay, so we're about to hit the meat and potatoes here. Subjective versus objective. In my opinion, well, actually, this isn't even really an opinion. This is just good old fact that's been tested throughout, you know, the generations in science and other fields. You know, you make your stuff objective, it's more than likely gonna work. It's more than likely gonna work. And especially when it comes to art criticism. All right, and I hate this stupid point, like, you know, what Clinton made in his response to Rags, that there is no such thing as an objective art analysis because art is not a science. There's no way to objectively measure the value in art, which is absolutely ludicrous. Okay, art is very subjective in its subject matter. But you can definitely find the objective qualities in art making, like, you know, that stupid damn banana on the wall that got plastered for thousands of dollars, and then that dude ate it. That was objectively a piece of shit. Whereas you see something like the Mona Lisa, like, that is really good. That is really good. And you know, and when it comes to film criticism, there is very much an objective field to be had in regards to film criticism. Like, whether or not Sharknado is a good movie. Objectively, hell no. People still like it because it's one of those so bad it's good movies, but of course, I'm not going to watch anything by the Asylum unironically to save my life, because if anything of what I've seen they've done to Decker Shadow's sanity, it's like, I don't want to be in that position either. But you can measure stuff objectively in film, especially when it comes to, you know, things that, whether or not they make sense. There's tons of film where you're like, what the hell? This makes absolutely no sense. Now, you can have a show set up on a ridiculous premise, but if it's consistent to that worldview, then it's objectively good, because it's taking liberties with certain things to make this world happen, like, you know, in sci-fi. But when you come to films like The Last Jedi, where they're not only at odds with real life stuff, but at odds with, you know, the canon itself, then everything falls apart. You have to have everything flow naturally. Yes, it's ridiculous that they're blowing shit up in outer space in these craft, but you know why they're doing it. What are the reasons? How are they doing this? How are they doing this? How are they doing this in the world? If you can make that consistent, then it is objectively good by a logical standard. And I'm betting this guy is one of those guys who's not really in that type of spectrum where they're like, hey, there is objective criticism in art. He's one of those guys who's like, yeah, you know, your stuff sucks, and I don't want to freaking discuss the actual reasons why. I'm just going to say it's bad because of political or stupid reasons. And considering, you know, he's just like he said, he made a video response to Sargon, makes you wonder. Okay, let's see the description of what he has here on this little screen. Let's see what he just decided that MauLer arbitrarily just believes based on his straw manning of writing that he just put up here. At the end of my these are his actual these are actual quotes. Okay, never mind. I'll give you that one, but let's see what he actually said. At the end of my assessment, I said the film was overall objectively bad. What's wrong with that? Alright, this is in context to The Last Jedi. This is in his TFA critique. I know because I just rewatched it recently, part 1. This is what he was talking about. Anyone is welcome to generate an objective opinion based solely on the measurable elements on the content. Yes, people do that all the fucking time. Are you stupid? Like, really? Like, what? What are you talking about? This is possible when you understand that objectivity insists in art, and then it ends with either MauLer or a robot. Okay, MauLer used the robot argument. I can't remember. It was with Just Right, I think. But he used that argument to show that, you know, the robot could... You either do it through the robot or you... Well, actually, no, never mind. Scratch that. But, anyway. Here's the point. Is any of what these things MauLer said, is that wrong or is that egregious in any way? No. These are fine quotes. There's nothing wrong with any of them. Why are you freaking putting them up here like some madman wrote it? It's ridiculous. It really is. It's ridiculous. The Last Jedi was objectively shit. He proved it. A lot of people, in fact, proved it. It wasn't just him. He wasn't the first one on this bandwagon. The response to The Last Jedi was already getting out of control when MauLer decided to release his rage. So what's the deal here? Why are you going out here taking these quotes that are very tame in terms of his discussion quotes and making it look like he was freaking the second coming of Hitler? God, I hate that crap. I really do. It irritates me to no end.
Found it? Let's dive in.
Why are you using songs to break up the sections? If you're gonna have songs in the background, use it in the background for the whole damn video, not just for these 2-second things. Jesus, it's annoying. Absolutely infuriating. You don't need a fucking... You don't need a song intro to come after you already start talking, and then you start talking some more, and then you have another song thing to intercut with that. Either have music in your fucking video or don't. Alright? Now, I'll be fair here, at least. I put music, when I do my new style of responses, which is just, you know, basic response, but the stuff that I can do with the hardware I have, when I do discussion videos, I'll have music to start it off, then I'll have music to end it. Do that. Don't intersplice 2 stupid songs. One of them by a band that I kinda like in the Black Eyed Peas, but that song's overrated as hell. But you'll have Hell Nah, you know, a meme song, and then you'll have this song. Make up your mind on what you want to do with the freaking music. Either have it or don't have it, and when you have it, don't use it in a way that's so stupid.
So we hit a very big roadblock, almost immediate in this discussion, about what the hell does objective or subjective even mean? Well, we go off dictionary definitions around here because that's kind of the generally agreed upon meaning of something, which we will get into later about the whole idea around that, but objective is defined in the dictionary as this: the idea that it is a factual truth that would exist outside of independent thought and interpretation, and that it can be perceptible by all people who view it.
Okay, I know what he's going to do with that. He's going to try to make MauLer come off as, oh, he's not really objective because he keeps bringing his own thoughts into it. But here's the thing that he did with his TLJ critique. He made it very clear the distinction between what was objective and what was his subjective interpretations. Like when he said that the bombers were stupid, he proved it. He set out the guidelines as to why the bombers were stupid and why Y-Wings are more superior battlement compared to these bombers in TLJ. As for starters, the bombers in TLJ were slow, horrendously slow, and were picked off in mere moments. One half of a singular TIE fighter tore through 3 of them through debris in space. And considering they were based on, you know, a big, bulky plane from World War II, the fact that they go that slow in space is very much insulting. And then not only that, they don't have, you know, the superior bomber in the Star Wars universe, which is the Y-Wing, which goes probably just as fast as a X-Wing, but can deal tons of damage like they show in Rogue One. But I know what he's trying to do here. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to make it look like, because MauLer uses a lot of subjective interpretations through, like, you know, the character of Luke Skywalker, where he's like, Luke Skywalker was a character assassinated, and he spelled out his own thoughts on that issue. He's going to use it to be like, well, MauLer says he's objective, but then he starts talking about his opinions on these things that are very disagreeable, even though the things that he says that are very disagreeable, he still can prove that they were objectively dumb. And he even says that his whole thing, that while he's still a very objective dude in terms of his analysis, he does it with the branching in the middle, where he, you know, brings in the objective arguments and his subjective criticism. Is there anything wrong with that? All right, and that quote that he had on the screen earlier, you're welcome to generate your personal interpretation based solely on the measurable elements of the content. Like, I just watched the movie Deep Impact recently. The movie's objectively good in terms of the science stuff, but if you care about the human characters, there's not much to go on. Right? That's my subjective view of the human interaction, because while the film is more scientifically accurate on certain things, like how it would take more than a few years if a disastrous comet or asteroid was heading our way, that would take us more than a few years to even prepare for it upon discovery, and the disasters that would happen around the Earth should they hit. You know, that stuff was handled in not only a realistic way, but damn near close to being reality. Whereas stuff like Armageddon handles it in more of a action-y type of way. Which is, you know, something I can credit Deep Impact with as being more subtle than Armageddon. But Armageddon and Deep Impact, they succeed on the opposite spectrum. Objectively, Deep Impact is a superior film in terms of the scientific aspect. Armageddon is not. But if you want the human drama, Armageddon is objectively better than the one you get in Deep Impact. Because in Deep Impact, you have so many different characters, but you don't have enough time with any of them. Alright, and those are both subjective and objective complaints that I have with both of those movies. So why is it so baffling that he uses both of them? Why is it so baffling?
Therefore, anything that people disagree on isn't objective, because people cannot see that it isn't something they can't disagree on. It makes more sense when you read it there. Seems to be relatively well put, but there is a lot to be said about that definition and its relation to the way that we talk about things that we see as people. Let's jump to subjective. So this can mean a few different things, but the related ones to this video are that subjective means relating to or constituting a grammatical subject, such as me, them, they, her, she, that person, a distinct individual of some kind, and also that something has the characteristic of or belonging to reality as it is viewed by the aforementioned grammatical subjects, rather than being independent of that perception. Now,
Okay, nothing really wrong with that, you know, definition. It just basically means, yeah, you can, it's a point of view type of thing. That's kind of what subjective is your point of view on a certain subject or on art itself. That's something that's on you.
This point, we have some definitions, but we don't really have anything actually interesting being discussed so far, unless you're a linguistics person, in which case, I bet you're having a great time. Let's get real deep with this for a second, and talk about the fact that this idea of objective, that something can exist outside of our interpretation and understanding of it, is completely impossible, or nigh impossible, to obtain, and that we have to accept lesser forms of the objective truth as a way of allowing us to do anything at all.
Nigh impossible my ass. How do you think we figured out how freaking animals evolve over time? How the hell do you think we reached the fucking moon? Really? And I know your people are going to say, well, that's science. Art isn't the science. Blah, 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 blah. No. You can objectively measure art. Art has been crafted just like science, just like mathematics, just like freaking everything else that has been crafted that we absorb. Alright, you can objectively make writing better. Okay, you can make stories better. And guess what? We use objective things like, you know, saying that the sun is a star. So that way, and the Earth is not the center of the galaxy or the universe even. Alright, and we use that to propel ourselves, you know, further up into the galaxy. Well, not in the galaxy, but in our world. So that way we can broaden our viewpoints. So that way we find out the bottom line. That is the whole point of objective. But you're trying to make it look like you can't actually do that? You kidding me? You serious, man? Are you serious? Boy, my God. This is... What a stupid fucking argument. That's so stupid. I cannot take anyone seriously who says that you cannot objectively prove anything based on that definition. That's so stupid.
Anything at all. Yeah, how's that for a serious goddamn subject matter? You fucks. Also, I'm not a philosophy major or a person who has a philosophy master's or any kind at all. If one of the actual decent philosophy people ever comes in and sees this, I'm sorry for screwing up stuff for you. I feel knock yourself out the park and do your own thing if you want to as a response to this.
Okay. Don't know why you had to set that disclaimer. Didn't really need to. You were just making an asinine statement. Anyone without a philosophy major could tell you that. You were speaking out of your ass, and then you go on this like, oh, I'm sorry, philosophy majors. That makes it seem like there's a point to counter his that he is completely ignoring. And that's very disingenuous of you, man. That is really disingenuous.
Please. So, objectivity is not something that, under the definition that we have laid out, is actually feasible for us to reach. A factual truth that exists outside of our independent perception of it, and is something that is perceptible by all people who view it, is not actually possible to obtain in our current methods.
Bullshit! What? As I said before, we used to think the Earth was flat, that the sun was not the center of the galaxy. Guess how we fucking learned that? Through objective freaking analysis, you moron! What a load of horse shit. Really? Are you... this is a big brain take. How do you think we were able to advance everything in society up to this point? From fucking stone tools to steel buildings to fucking rocket ships to the weapons that we use in warfare today. How the hell do you think we did all of that shit through? Through finding the right and best method that we can make for these things. And yes, there's still stuff that we can do. We can still continually improve. Till one day, guess what? We can reach the stars. We can start colonizing shit like Star Trek or something like that. But you're going out here, you unironically fucking saying we can't find, there's no way to do objective stuff with the methods that we have today. What a load of horse shit. Fuck you.
Methods. Everything that we engage in, from every field of study, every possible experience that people have, everything that is created and exists, is defined by our subjective engagement with and knowledge of it.
With experiences, we found ways to define experiences that are beyond subjective interpretations. We found out, oh, we have senses that allow us to, you know, perceive the world around us and see how everything works. You know, sight, smell, taste, hearing. Basic freaking examples of the human experience. Alright, this chart doesn't actually say anything about subjective interpretations. It explains to us how we can perceive things. Okay, and yes, people have different experiences all the time, but that depends. That is with a very huge asterisk. That depends on the situation. That depends on where they live. That depends on what shit they've gone through in their lives. That depends on who they've lived under. That's a whole load of depending right there. So, oh my God, I don't want to get an aneurysm. I'm gonna get an aneurysm. I'm gonna get it. I'm telling you, I am. Oh, not only that point, yeah, he brought in science. I was the one who brought it in first because I thought he was just going to use film as an example, but I was trying to use it where, like, if you use it in one field of study like science, you can use it in something else like art or in creative writing or stuff like that. And he actually brings in freaking science. So guess what, bitch? You're in my world now. Look at the badge, Grandma. You're in my world now.
I'm aware of how either stupid or foolish that statement might sound to some people, that there is no such thing as objective truth, that there is no actual good or bad, right or wrong, but bear with me. This might make a lot more sense soon, hopefully. An objective truth, or the truth, is something that would need to both exist as true regardless of our involvement with it, and also be perceived by everyone or everything that sees it as being true.
That sounds like a flawed as fuck example. You can have the truth and have a bunch of people perceive it not to be. A bunch of people used to think that the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution was based on something true that happened. But guess what? We found out years later that was used as a scapegoat. Didn't actually happen, and that was the thing that Lyndon Johnson needed to do to get us involved in the war in Vietnam. Another thing, we'll go with something that I've very been passionate about. The Judge Kavanaugh thing. A bunch of people still to this day think this motherfucker is guilty of sexual assault, even though we have not had any evidence at all. No evidence. None. Which means, without a shadow of a doubt, unless something else comes out sooner or later, he is innocent. But a bunch of people still think he's guilty without any evidence. So you either have it one or the other way. Either one person's right or one person's wrong. And right now, the evidence leans to, and will most likely not be relegated against him, that Kavanaugh is in the right. He did not actually sexually assault anybody. That's the truth. That's the truth as we see it right now. Now, it could change. We could find out something later on. But until then, no. He is innocent. He is innocent. All right? Just because a bunch of people think that something is true or something is false does not mean it so unless we have the evidence to dispute it, to confirm it. You are literally ignoring how we do things in everyday life. This is the bullshit you get when you listen to people who go on this subjective bullshit. You get this crap. You get this crap. You know how many brutal dictators, kind of love stifling the truth from their own citizens to make them look so super cool? Like in North Korea, like in Nazi Germany, like in a bunch of terrible places where they stifle the truth and a bunch of people believe what they are told. Come on, man, you're smarter than this. I cannot believe you're so dead-brained on this. I can't. You have to be using this as some type of troll. That's what this has to be.
This is when we get to the issue of group consensus being the definition for the objective truth, because it's not. It is a way for us to get closer to an agreed upon truth, but that's still defined by all the people who are seeing that. So it's closer to a mass subjective truth that relies upon the perception of the majority.
Oh, really? In some cases, you would kind of be right. But considering, we're living in the most technologically advanced time right now where we can basically find out facts in a snap of a finger with our phones, I highly take that to be very doubtful in the context you're trying to use it in, sir. This is so stupid. We used to think a lot of stupid shit. But guess what? We found out what was the right perception. Are you just going to go out there and proclaim that, oh, evolution's a lie because you guys all perceived it to be true, instead of saying, oh, this is the most likely thing that we can explain how evolution works, why things are the way they are with certain animals. This is the best way to explain it. All right? And I'll give you this. We may not ever find the absolutely true truth for certain things, but we can at least know how it works and why it's that way. Why do you think we have 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 balls even. Why do you think we have these things? Why do you think we have these things? What are the things that make it so? How does it work? What are the things that make it work? Where does it all come from? What creates it? All that type of shit. There is objective truth. And do not go with that subjective my truth crap and try to spin it on us. You know, because there's a difference between my truth and the actual truth, as I said earlier.
As literally just mentioned, for it to move to the realm of objective, it would need to not just be a majority, it would need to be that everybody who has ever existed through all times and all different perceptions would be unable to deny that it is a real thing or true or objective.
What? Did I hear that right? Did I hear that right? I can't have. That everyone has to agree for it to be an objective truth? No! As I said before, not everyone is going to agree. There are stupid people out there, like yourself. Really fucking stupid. Who deny shit. All the time, despite the evidence being right in their fucking faces. Alright, so I'm gonna tell you again. We have learned how to perceive things, why we perceive things this way, what makes us work, what makes the universe go. Okay? Not everyone is going to agree because everyone grew up in different points of time. Alright, people were ahead of their time, sure. People were definitely ahead of their time. But are you going to say that we have to go back in time, fucking dig up the graves of the freaking cavemen to say, try to show them this shit? They're not going to understand. They're not going to understand. Okay? They had different concepts of intelligence back then. They're not going to understand. In fact, this might mind blow them to the point where they want to die. Because people literally live their lives on the truths that they were spouting back in the day. Right? But guess what? We learned from their failures, and now, boom, like I said, best time to live. Best time to live, guys. Come on. Come on. Don't feed me this bullshit. It's not gonna stand.
You may be saying here, well, that's silly, that's ridiculous. How could we ever possibly achieve that level of knowledge about any specific topic? And yeah, that's kind of the point.
Again with the friggin' songs. Just freaking cut. If you're gonna have sections, cut it with your voice. Jesus Christ, isn't this what they teach us in college? Like, dude, you separate it and you have a title. You express it.
The ideas that we work with, however, in these fields are not objective ones, and that can be seen by the fact that people do disagree with them.
You just unironically gave flat earthers a pedestal to stand on. People disagree, therefore it's not objective. What a worthless argument. Therefore, flat earthers and anti-vaxxers have just as valid opinions as people with freaking PhDs. Wow. Do you not know how easily those words can be twisted against you? Oh my god. And I thought MovieBob was bad with his logical fallacies. This is worse than MovieBob. What? What are you talking about? This is so... You must be an alien from another world, because this is laughably bad if you're trying to understand the human experience. This is horrendous. What in the fuck, man?
MauLer over here, claiming objective analysis in his videos, is incorrect by the very definition that he uses, because he has people who disagree with him, that disagree with the points he brings up, because they don't see what he sees in these videos, or what he believes to be true.
Well, he does his damn best to try to prove those freaking things that he sees as facts. like, you know, blatantly calling out plot contradictions, or saying that you're a hypocrite if you support this thing, but then support this thing at the same time that completely is counter to that. Are you gonna give us examples? All right, like, we can do this all day. We can do this all day. All right, I got plenty of time. It's 12:16 p.m. I can do this all day, buddy. All day to the night. Cause this is, I'm on my way to losing it, man. Oh my God. He's setting a standard. His standard is not shit. His standard actually makes sense if you think about it, but apparently you can't think because you only have 2 brain cells that are so weak, even when they're rubbing together to try to create some heat, they cannot even do the minimal amount required. And so all you've got is the heat death of the universe inside your skull.
Be true or a fact.
Shouldn't have worn that petard if you didn't want to be hoisted by it.
That very dissent is by its nature breaking one of the important tenets of an objective statement or idea, that it needs to be something that can be agreed upon or cannot be disagreed by people when it comes to deciding what it is.
You can have people disagree, but the whole point of an objective analysis is that you have evidence behind it. Why am I having to say the same damn thing every 10 seconds? Because you won't shut the fuck up and use your head. Jesus. I feel like Southpaw during the 50th EFAP when he was flipping out on Brown Table because the way he just went on the black, or he just like dismisses the plot holes in The Dark Knight Rises. Like, I feel that pissed. I am that pissed, like, genuinely. This is making me more pissed than the Major League videos I did. Like, this is genuinely awful. This is the worst video on YouTube I've ever seen. This transcends MovieBob, and MovieBob has been known to kill people who respond to him. It's that bad. How am I doing this without getting a brain aneurysm? I might get a brain aneurysm just freaking editing the video. This is fucking ridiculous. I've never seen this level of dumb fuckery before.
Otherwise, it is still a subjective statement because it is still reliant upon us defining it for people.
That is absolutely retarded. We have to define it for people, therefore it's a subjective argument. That is so retarded. You have to define things for people so they can understand the thing. Why do you think people learn language?
This even extends to descriptive stuff, the kind of things that we take for granted because it makes everything easier for us to do so. Stuff like linguistics or terminology fall into this category. We can describe something as a film, meaning for us a movie or a motion picture, but how do we know that it is a film, definitively? How do we know that anything is objectively what it is, and not just something that we have all agreed upon to name in the idea of convenience? Can people not disagree that something is a film or something is...
Like I said last time, we perceive things, we find things to explain. We explain this to people. We explain it to people. That doesn't mean it's not objective. Okay, something is a film. How do you explain that something is a film? Here's how you explain something as a film, since apparently your Peabody brain can't fucking comprehend it. It's something that lasts, well, either over an hour long, or maybe it can even be shorter than that, but it's something where you are filming an experience. You are filming something that is happening. You are filming a story. You are telling a story. In fact, film is a storytelling medium. Right? You are telling a story through visuals. That is what film is. And they can be at any length you want. They can have special effects, whether good or bad. They can have acting that's good or bad. They can have writing that's good or bad. And we can have very different metrics to study that. Very different ones. But the ones that went out are the ones that have the higher standards. Okay? People all, right, why do you think we have the Oscars and the Golden Globes? So that way we can praise the medium that they're expressing. Okay, why do you think Joker's got so many, it's been nominated for so many awards? Because people think it's a genuinely great movie. Not only do they think it's a genuinely great movie, it actually is a great movie. Because it tackles, not only does it tackle a lot of hard subjects, but it does it in a way that, you know, brings everything into perspective, where it vilifies and celebrates certain things on both sides of an opposing spectrum. All right, now what I just said there was subjective, but there are plenty of people other than me, and people there that can do it better than me, that can discuss these things about. They can discuss all of these themes. They can discuss what is good in film. Okay, you can do that. People have made a living on it literally for years. Roger Ebert, you don't remember that guy? Yeah, not super popular, and granted, he's had some big brain takes too, but for the most part, he's very consistent. Okay, and he's willing to give a lot of lower films that think that he's willing to give films that are lower tier on the spectrum more of a fair shake. All right, because there's films in there that I thought that he would never give nearly 4 stars. Like, he gave Atlantis 3.5 stars when that film was a critical disaster. He gave The Longest Yard reboot, a film that has only a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, or 30-something% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. He gave that one a pretty high review. Okay? There are different standards for everybody. Sure. But if you have a good standard to set, then you can judge it through different lenses. But that's also in the subjective thing. MauLer has said openly that he likes films subjectively but thinks they're bad objectively, like Endgame and Infinity War. He thinks both of those good films are great subjectively, and that's on the standard of character. And now, here's my thinking of it, based on my subjective interpretation. If you do good in the character dynamics, even if your plot is super stupid, if your characters are good, I can overlook it. It won't make it great on the objective scale, but it'll make it better than absolutely boring filth. If you have compelling characters, that can carry a film. Alright, but that does depend on your standards. But like I said before, MauLer mixes the objective and subjective, but he uses it to prove his point in either way.
This kind of thing, because they can, and they have, and that muddies the waters a hell of a lot more. Alright, we're going to step down a little bit here from the philosophical ledge that I've constructed for us to stand on, because I recognise that a lot of what I'm saying may be either going nowhere, or just confusing people, because it's confusing me a bit, and I'm not the smartest person in the world.
Oh, we've definitely figured out how smart you are.
And I want to make this for everybody. What I am trying to get across here is that it is kind of stupid to work with this idea of objective analysis and truth, and that when we use it, we quite often use it incorrectly to refer to something that is subjectively agreed upon by a majority, in the case of MauLer explicitly. General consensus can change though, and opinions about things that were once believed to be true can evolve over time or through the involvement of other people. The fact that these concepts are not set in stone defies the nature of objectivity, defies the nature of something that is true to everybody at all times that have ever existed, because we cannot possibly, in our current circumstances, prove that to be the case, because it's all defined by our subjective involvement in it. Even the computers that we have are still created by people that put their own subjective ideas and biases into the algorithms and the way that those computers operate.
Oh, so you finally agree. You finally go, oh wait, people change their perspectives over time. But once again, you're missing the point. No one is ever going to ever completely agree. That is the nature of human conflict. No one is ever going to agree completely. You can have near widespread consensus in some areas, so that could be either through collusion sometimes, and then you can have times where they are more genuine. But we are never, ever are going to have objectivity in the way that you describe it, where people have to have it, where everything is considered objective by everyone in the world. And it's like, everybody has to agree. No, no one is ever going to agree completely. Stop with that crap, please. All right, and yes, people have different ways of doing things, because different people have different ways of doing things. It's in their brain structure. Okay, that was proven. by objective analysis of the human genome. Come on, man. Right, and you really gave yourself a massive cell phone earlier by saying you're stupid anyway. And then you're going to go out there and call MauLer's reasoning behind his analysis stupid too. Good job, dumbass.
Operates. And this isn't just about being true as well. Objectively, it's hard to define what is good, what is bad, when what is good can evolve and what is bad can also evolve. I mean, the ideas that we have that set up like a rigid idea for what is good have changed for film, for media, for science, for any of those kind of things. They all evolve over time, and that defies the fact that it's objective because it's subjectively relevant to the time period that it was in, if it's good or bad.
Yes, like I have been saying, we evolved, we have changed, we find different explanations for things that are going on in the world. And as I said before, we're not ever going to actually get to the full truth of everything. Because, you know, different things happen. Things could happen right now. We could all die later and never figure out a lot more than we could about our solar system. We may not even figure out the best ways to create art. But here's the thing, when you have a standard to make that is as close enough to the objective reality as we have it at this point, and then you switch it up, that's not a subjective thing looking back on it. That's still what they did with the knowledge that they had at the time, which means they were the most objective as that they could be. That's not subjective. That is objective. Why do you think so many filmmakers of the past did these things like long shots and made suspense? Because that works to get people tense. Right? There's this thing called tension in art. Right? They have it in movies, they have it in books, they have it in pictures. Right? You can make something good through that. Alright? And yes, standards do change, but when you have a standard that has been proven to work and the new standards people keep bringing up are worse than those standards, people go, oh, these standards are bad. How about we go back to the old standards that we used to have because they actually worked and created some of the best films of all time. Or, hey, these standards right here that we've been living by for hundreds and hundreds of years have been completely bullcrap. And we just found something that can explain these certain things in science. Okay, that doesn't mean that the people who came up with it did this through a completely subjective interpretation. That's what they had to go on. That is what they had to go on. They didn't have any other way of finding out things. Like, they didn't know that there was any way to prove that the Earth wasn't flat. They didn't know that there was any way to prove that the sun was in the center of the solar system and that we were not actually at the center of the universe with everything revolving around us. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Oh my God, for the 20th time, stop using 2 seconds of songs. Just stop. Stop with the fucking music. Please. You split it up like 4 different times already. You don't even need these fucking sections. You really don't. Okay? If you're gonna use a song, use the same one. Or, use a variation of it. Don't just go, or do it by something by the same band. Just don't go using random fucking songs that nobody has ever heard of before except for a couple of them. And one of them's a meme song, and the other one's an overrated song by a band I like.
All of this doesn't mean that we need to give up on ever trying to do anything or talk about anything though. I want to talk a little bit here about the nature of convenience and urgency in relation to this topic. Urgency is an important element of subjective consensus because we use it as a kind of measure for how we treat that general opinion. If there is a sense of urgency or requirement around a collective agreement, something like, I don't know, climate change, or the language that we use to converse with each other, we then lower our standards of what is the objective truth because there is a lot more requirement.
Or, hear me out, the people who are out there spouting out about climate change and that sense of urgency are fucking assholes half the time. And it have been proven to make up their own evidence. Do you not remember NASA You know, the big guys who got us into space, they got us to the moon. They lied. And when George Bush was still president, they came out and said they lied about their climate models. All right, guess who also lies about their climate models and their predictions? Fucking Al Gore. You know, the guy who made 2 fucking stupid ass movies whose predictions have not panned out. All right, you have a freaking teenager who's been brainwashed by her parents and everyone around her to be this climate model. And she's not actually talking about things that are objective. She's making subjective statements, and then when people criticize her for it by not handing her evidence or giving us good solutions to our problems, she goes, "How dare you? How dare you?" I'm starting to think this isn't even really about MauLer. Because he's barely really talked about MauLer. So we talked about him for a couple of seconds. He's using these different things in science to talk about MauLer. And it's getting on my nerves. Alright, you're acting like you're talking about MauLer, I mean. He's acting like he's talking about MauLer. But he's talking about all these other things. But he's not bringing it to a full-formed point yet. And then we're already 10 minutes into the video. We're more than halfway through. What is this all going to come to? Okay? You could be talking about this other stuff that MauLer's doing. Alright? Use examples from his works. Like I have been using. Jeez.
For us to have an agreement there, that even if it is wrong, the necessity of it means that we lower our standards. In these cases, it can be lowered to, I don't know, a 99% agreement or a 95% agreement that something is true by people, which is technically and literally not objective or the truth.
Okay, then talk about the stuff with climate change. Talk about the stuff that, you know, has been falsified. Talk about the stuff that is actually true. You know, like we lose a lot of stuff in Antarctica, but Antarctica still produces more than enough ice to keep itself sustainable. Talk about how there's still snow on top of this mountain in Chile, when people said it was not going to have any snow freaking 20 years ago. All right? Talk about that type of stuff then. Don't just use it as an example and then kowtow away from it by not explaining anything about it. All right? Talk about the urgency. Why are people so urgent about climate change? Okay, now, if anybody decides to respond to this, Gutian or whoever else wants to respond to this, if this gets big enough, I highly doubt it, but we'll see what happens. I am not saying that climate change or global warming isn't a thing. Those two have been a constant throughout human history, and they've been dispersed in similar ways before in, you know, recorded history. All right, I'm not saying that these aren't things to worry about. What I am saying is, when you make wild claims, like a mountain will not have any snow on it despite being at a very huge elevation after more than a decade, and it still has snow on it past that time and still gets snow, and then you try to use that as an example of, oh my god, the world's gonna end because the oceans are gonna rise and shit, and then you try to say that we need to start living in pods and eating bugs and doing a bunch of stupid shit. No. If you want to convince me that the world is imminently going to end because of something, you need to hand me evidence. You need to show us what is actually going on, and not relying on people like the NOAA or NASA when they have been proven to falsify things and are actually run by people who have falsified things in the past. Okay? Actually give me something. Alright? And that's, like I said, very disagreeable things when it comes to this nature. But why don't we do something? Here's what we could do in terms of that type of stuff. Come to a damn middle ground. Have people from both fields, get independents in on this, so they can do their own interpretation, and then they see what's going on. They compare it to the evidence that both sides have, then they make their interpretation, and then if everybody else agrees on it, or at the very least, it lines up more with what has actually been shown in the past, then we can finally figure out what we need to do, instead of just running around jerking each other off.
but it is a concession that is made to try and get some action through on stuff that seems to demand that we address it soon to ensure our continued existence or ability to function. This reduction of what it means to be the truth or objective is fine when it comes to stuff like that, for stuff that most people subjectively agree upon because of that urgency element to it.
Okay, but what if they're wrong? What if they're wrong? What if these things are wrong? Okay? This is just a big what-if scenario, but what if they're wrong? If we do the things that a lot of crazy people want us to do, we would have severely altered our way of living to a point where we may never be able to return. And then by the time people figure it out, it would be way too late. Of course, this is the this is the argument people make in the attacking on people who are supposed climate change deniers, or if they're, you know, just reasonable skeptics who are like, look, I don't think this is going down the way you think it is. Like how at least half the people in the world think about it. Okay, we don't use as much oil as we did in World War II. Guess what? Boom. Things aren't going like this. We don't use as much oil as we did in World War II. In fact, we've gone through, especially countries like the United States, have gone through massive renovations in terms of things like global warming. And guess what? We are one of the guys who are reducing CO2. Whereas the people in like Germany, who are super hardcore on this type of stuff, are actually increasing CO2 emissions by fucking up their own industries and fucking up their own power supply. And we are also, we're just going to conveniently forget that no one wants to do nuclear power, even though that's the cleanest power source we have. Yes, it's got a risk in it. There's a lot of things that have risk. But would you rather have the cleanest energy available that we can use for generations to come? Or would you rather use shit that's plant-based? I'd rather use the stuff that's cleaner.
That same requirement, however, does not extend to art or to the artistic side of human experience. There is no desperate need for us to get people to agree to something because we might all die if we don't agree, or that we might be unable to function as a society if we do not have this scientific objectivity around.
No one is saying that. Literally no one is saying that we have to have an agreed upon consensus for film. I think people are going to start saying that soon, or at least, hey, people have their own standards, and we should be encouraging that. If people want to have their own standards, they definitely should. But if they're going to talk about things seriously, we should all come to a similar standard. That's what we should be doing. But like I said, people have their own standards on things. There is no sense of urgency for film to be proven to have film stuff proven with objective analysis. Yes, there's no urgency. That doesn't discount what people are saying about it. That doesn't matter. All right? What's objective is objective. If you can prove something without a shadow of a doubt, then you can prove it objectively. And you can prove almost everything right now objectively, at least to the standards that we have right now. And right now, these are the most objective standards that we have. This is what we got. Okay? Don't try to deny it, because this is what we got. All right, this is the most objective we are standing at right now. 1,000 years from now, if we're still walking around or flipping out in the stars, they will have their own form of objectivity, but that's based on their form of intelligence, not ours. They will see ours and see that this is the best objective way that we could do things at this point in time.
This. We can, in fact, embrace the element of subjectivity that is inherent there and everywhere. That we can embrace the fact that art is related to the way that people interpret it and create around it, and that doesn't make it good or bad definitively. There is a scene from a TV show that I watched recently called The Good Place that featured something kind of like this in an episode recently. This scene about Chidi's attempt to cram all the philosophical ideas together in an attempt to find the answer, the truth, and that it ultimately fails because it does not manage to be a convincing or interesting read, is kind of a reflection of what can be said or seen here. There is no definitive answer that we can find to if a film is objectively good or bad.
That's how this works. Yes, there is, you dumb fuck. Why do you think people call really stupid movies that people like so bad it's good? Why do you think people unironically like Sharknado? Because it's a film that's so ridiculous people can't help but like it. Why do you think that's a category? Because people see film that, oh, it is obviously bad. To the naked eye, it's bad. But people still like it because there's stuff that they can't enjoy. Alright, that's what standards are. People have different standards. For the 10 billionth time, people have different standards. Okay? That's why people with objective... This is what MauLer says also, too. This is why people with objective assessments can still argue about different things. Because they could see stuff differently. And through debate, they can find an understanding. Or they can mold their beliefs to obtain objectivity. But apparently, according to you can't do that.
Frameworks and parameters that they use to define this, and even the most generally used one is not automatically correct. It's why we can all have our own favourite films, our own favourite songs, our own favourite paintings, because we all bring our own subjective identity and worldview into the way that we enjoy or experience art. And unlike more scientific exploits, the world that we have created and that we are currently existing in, supposedly, does not rely on us having to define the best thing.
That's because people have different things that tickle their fancy. For the 100th time, people have different standards on what they want. People like action films. People like comedies. People like drama. Therefore, people are going to have different things they will see. But that's for the normal audience. For those who are actual critics, they have to understand what goes into the making of these things. What goes into the writing, what goes into the sets, what goes into the production, what goes into the direction, what goes into the acting, what goes into so many different things to prove whether or not it is actually good. Yes, I haven't seen Citizen Kane, but yes, people still think to this day that it's one of the best movies ever made. I'm not inclined to agree because I haven't seen the damn film. But a lot of films from the 50s are actually looked on with reverence, like Citizen Kane, because of the subject matter at hand. And not only because of the subject matter, because of the real-life interpretations this had, and along with the real-life inspiration that it took from. Alright, there's so many different things. Why do you think Universal still releases some of their old monster films to this day? And how they were trying to remake their monster universe? Because because people genuinely liked those, and at the time, people objectively liked them. But at the very least, people did like them. Alright? Now, a film can be timeless if it is objective in every sense of the word. Meaning, it doesn't have a stupid plot, the acting is solid, the writing is superb, and the direction is filled with tension. Okay? It can't be just generic, it can't be bad, it can't be subpar. You can have something great that won't be timeless, but you can have something be timeless because it is great.
Ultimately, every reviewer or media analyst is just saying that, in their opinion, using the guidelines and positions that they take, this is what they believe can be said about this piece of media, and people are free to disagree with or agree with that person's statement.
Yes, we see that. Absolutely we see that. But those films that people put at the top of their list are normally films that most people consider good. When you put a film that's so horrendous, like The Last Jedi, on your list of some of the best films ever made, when not only do most people not like it, when it's been proven by a lot of people, not just through their peer review responses, but through their own lenses, and by proving it by going through the film and going through the stuff from not only the Star Wars universe, but other stories as well, when they prove that it's bad by every standard imaginable, and you have it like that, people are going to ridicule you. Or at the very least, they're going to ask, why did you put it there? Okay? Okay? Okay.
You could definitely make it more convincing by making a good logical argument with well-constructed positions and detailed points, but that does not stop it from still being a subjective and relative to that person interpretation.
Yeah. So what? They may not take the criticism, okay? This is something that we're seeing now. There's a lot of people who refuse to take criticism, actually. Like you. On Twitter. a lot. But anyway. Yes, I agree with what you're saying. But here's your problem. You're not putting it into really concisely anywhere. Okay? Alright, you're not taking into account like everything else here.
Art is dead.
It took us into the 13 freaking minute mark for him to finally get to why MauLer's review stuff sucks. 13:26 is the timestamp, and he used yet another fucking song. Stop it for the billionth time.
Art is dead. And on that note, because I realised that we left MauLer behind a long time ago in this video, in my own personal opinion as a subjective presenter of positions, what MauLer engages in is absolute garbage. His content is a tedious, dry waste of people's time that attempts to break films down in a delusional attempt to find the answer, but ultimately he concedes to the general consensus about what is good or bad.
You gonna give us any reasoning for that? Because that sounded like a whole garbage chute that you just threw at us. Okay. Alright. You gotta give us some evidence here. Are we gonna have Diabeto-esque, logical fallacies here? Or are we gonna have Jack Saint just not bothering to look at things and then get called out for more bullshit? What are we gonna get? What are we gonna get from you?
About what is good or bad, removing any attempt to construct ideas of his own.
What the fuck? Removing what? Are you... He can't make his own ideas. What the fuck? He comes up with literally different hypothetical scenarios in defense of The Last Jedi. Like, to have this stuff happen in the film in a way that it actually makes it work. He does that. He did that in 2 months' time, compared to Rian Johnson's 2 years. Are you kidding me? All you have to do is watch his TLJ critique to know that that statement he just said right there is an absolute load of bullshit.
Is the wasteland of boring analysis, of ignoring the diversity that can be found in going outside of the masses' comfort zone and talking about subjects beyond the norm that is expressed there. Any attempt to pretend that he can apply scientific objectivity to films and that it makes that more accurate or more true ignores the fact that it is an objectivity built out of a subjective concept.
I love how he just uses the word fact like that doesn't have any objective interpretation to it, or how that it's not used to, bolster objectivity. That, what? All I heard was a load of piss. You just pissed in your mouth. That none of that made any sense. You're just making statements about him, but you're not showing anything that he says. All you've gotten so far are 3 fucking quotes. All of them are not bad. Once again, not bad quotes. They're not quotes that are demeaning anybody. They're not doing anything stupid. They're just quotes. They're his arguments, and you're not doing anything to actually combat those arguments. We are 4 minutes away from the end of your fucking video, and you have not made a single damn argument as to why MauLer's stuff sucks other than these statements without any evidence to support it.
Yes, it is easier to think of art in terms of this is good and this is bad, but at the end of the day, declaring it to be so does not make it so.
People make video essays on why Batman and Robin sucks all the time. People make video essays on why things like The Godfather are great all the time. He doesn't just say, oh, they're great. He actually talks about why they're good, or at least mentions some attributes that he likes about them. Okay? He does not just go out there and say, oh, this is bad, oh, this is good. That's it. No, that's not what he does. He actually proves the stuff that he's talking about, whether or not it's good or bad. Why do you think he made a 10-hour video on Dark Souls? Why do you think he made a 5-hour review of The Last Jedi? Are you kidding me? And also, way to throw every other objective YouTuber onto the bus. Good fucking job, asshole.
Does not make it so. Everybody can in fact determine their own version of what is good with relation to art, and it doesn't affect other people's personal beliefs or lives in that matter. Only when we try to enforce a structured, rigid concept of what can be seen as good or bad, right or wrong, do we start hitting issues of not actually reflecting what people believe. Especially because when that has happened in the past, people rebel against it and make art that specifically tries to break from those conventions and those enforced rules. Like...
Dude, please, shut up. Shut up. You're not helping yourself, okay? You're just spouting platitudes and they don't even make any sense. Stop it. Now. I am 5 minutes away from blowing my freaking head off with a sawed-off shotgun. Shut up.
Punk music or auteur films. I encourage artists to be different, to explore whatever they want to, and to take criticism of their art from those people who they trust and find
People already do that all the time, okay? All the freaking time. And why should they only do it from those that they trust? They should be able to take it from any source. Granted, if you act like an asshole when you're criticizing someone, that depends on, right? That's bad. But the difference between being an asshole while criticizing someone is the distinction between being an asshole is also a very fine line. If you're being an asshole to everyone who doesn't like the film, who has genuine complaints about it that they've built up on their own and have also talked about with other people, and then you just say, oh, they're stupid. Oh, you're a faggot. Oh, you're just a, what's the word? Oh, you're sexist or you're a homophobe and that type of shit. People tend to take offense to that and are like, okay, you want to throw shit at us? We'll throw shit at you back. God, this is fucking pathetic.
compelling. You don't need to search for the objective truth in what you make, or what you watch or see. For art, reveling in the subjective can be a whole lot.
People do that all the time in their everyday lives. Who cares? You don't need to... You don't have to. The whole thing of MauLer is you don't have to view it through an objective lens. You can feel whatever you will. He's just sharing his perspective. That's his whole thing. And he does it with objectivity and subjectivity. It's not like he's trying to convince everyone to come to his side.
A lot more enjoyable. I also want to briefly just mention this idea of art and
Okay, nope, I'm done. Okay, nope, can't, nope, not doing it anymore. Nope. 15 minutes is all I can do. And then he decided, no, let's bring capitalism into this, like it has anything to do with MauLer at all. So, Gutian, here's a message for you. How about you shut the fuck up? Stop whining like a little bitch on Twitter and calling people out for just disagreeing with your video. Okay? When people share memes talking about how stupid you are, or they're giving you detailed arguments of how stupid you are, and then when you have a live stream dedicated to taking you down and they can't even finish it because they have technical problems, they're like, oh, they don't even talk about me, blah, 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 blah. They suck. No. Come up with better arguments than that, all right? They had different people on there. They were reading super chats. They were talking about other stuff. Then they were going to get to you. What is the problem with that? All right, you're trying to use that to dunk on people. And then Jack Saint, that freaking ginger-haired cunt, is just going to go out there and go, oh, I skimmed through only like a couple seconds here and there and then just stopped at the 40-minute mark and then watched a little bit there and all they were doing was circle jerking. Wow, what a disingenuous little asshole. Your ass is next, Jack. Your ass is next. So, in conclusion, Gutian, go fuck yourself. Jack Saint, go fuck yourself. And a special shout out to Southpaw for being one of the guys who were trying to take this dude down. Sucks that you weren't able to, because apparently everybody's having problems with live streams these days. But yeah, this has been my first response video in a while. Oh my god. I genuinely, I haven't been this pissed off since I did my MovieBob Reach video. That Halo Reach video, that not only did that send me into a just decline in brain cells. I was genuinely pissed off because MovieBob was misunderstanding anything and everything about Halo. This dude is misunderstanding everything about MauLer and is misunderstanding basically everything about not only the human experience, but the concept of definitions in the English language. This is pathetic. I've never seen such a big brain, boneheaded, cockle-teased, bullshitted narrative. Never in my life. You make Quentin look like God. You make MovieBob look like he's fucking tonaled. That's how bad you are. That's how bad you are, man. Holy shit. I don't know how long it's going to take to edit this. I'm hoping to have it out before the next EFAP because I'm hoping they don't respond to it by then, or at least if they respond to it on Sunday's stream, I can at least have this out before then. Maybe I could get a couple views, hopefully. But man, this is a horrific piece of shit. This is bullshit. I did my own long man bad today. So here you go. And you want to respond to it, Gutian, Jack Sane, and Patricia Taxxon? Come at me, bro. Come at me. Alright. See you guys later. Don't die. And, yeah, let's go get that gun.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.